Rev up your engines!
Well, more and more Ford dealers have dropped out of EV car selling. Ford just lost the case where the judge says, you can't do that. They're trying to force them into spending money, each dealer, to become an EV dealer, the Ford dealers to sell EV cars. The state's Motor Vehicle Board determined that Ford broke the law by requiring dealers to make hefty investments in return for the ability to sell all-electric vehicles. They thought they could force them to, but they were breaking laws. So now they can't force them, and more Ford dealers are opting out. So far, over 400 of them said, nope. We don't want to have these EVs. We don't want to have to train our guys to fix them. We don't have to put in level 2 chargers. We don't want to spend money on vehicles that nobody wants to buy. This whole fantasy of electric cars, now when the rubber is starting to hit the road, it's just kind of starting to get on the road and landing. They're finding that maybe we shouldn't make millions of these things because people aren't going to buy them. If the Ford dealers themselves don't even want to sell the things. Imagine the people themselves. The dealer doesn't even want to sell those cars. Why on earth would I want to buy one of those things, right? It's a comedy of errors, And I find it hilarious that the biggest mistake-prone company is Ford, with all the screw-ups they've done in the last decade, being the leading recall cars for the last 3 years because they can't make them right, and then they think they're going to make electric cars right. They can't even sell them right. Well, Hondas were called more than 300,000 HRVs and Honda Accords. Because guess what? The seatbelts might not work. They think they might not have put a part on that when you stop fast, the seatbelts are kind of loose. There's a pretensioner, and it's like a fulcrum. And what happens is when you slam on the brakes, the fulcrum's supposed to go lock it in place and hold it tight so you don't crush into the windshield or the steering column, right? Problem is, the piece that holds it on may not have had a brad put on correctly, and it may just snap off, and so you'll go through the windshield. Now they got 300,000 of them that they got to fix. So it goes to show what I've been saying for years. Honda used to make great cars, but their quality definitely has been going downhill faster than it did before. It used to be going uphill. I guess they reached the top of the hill. Now they're starting to go back down again. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they say, well, this issue was because of an error made during assembly. They're going to have to take them all apart and see if it's bradded in or not. If not, they're going to have to brad it in. I mean, that is lack of quality control. 300,000 of them they got to recall, right? Quality Hondas, not what they once was. And if you look at what other people say who know cars, they'll tell you the same exact thing. Go back decades, Honda and Toyota were pretty much neck and neck who made the best car in the world. But Honda slipped more than Toyota for sure. And they have more problems than they used to. The people are complaining about quality control, about paint control, that the paint flakes off, things like this. You're not safe in the car. They're not as well made as they used to be. The real Farb says, is this a good purchase? A 2018 Toyota Tacoma SR with 28,000 miles for $29,998, right? $2 less than 30 grand, right? And it's a 6-year-old pickup truck. I don't think it's a good deal. It's too much money. I don't care what anybody says. And yeah, Toyotas have resale value, right? But I would not pay 30 grand for a 6-year-old pickup truck because check it out. I just looked it up. The original list price for 2018 SR pickup with a 5-foot bed is $29,550. That's $400 more for a used one that's 6 years old. That's stupid. Don't. Go out and buy a new one. Why spend it on a used one? That's just plain stupid. Too much money. Too much. Probably a good truck. It's a Toyota, right? Still, it's used. You'd have to have a guy like me check it out. Maybe it was wrecked, flooded, stolen. Who knows? You buy a new one, at least you know it's new, right? But that's $400-something more than it cost when it was brand new. So no, they're trying to rip you off. Castor Paul 62 says, do digital car keys serve a purpose? What are your thoughts about a digital car key? Is it necessary to have a key from your own phone? Wouldn't it create problems in the near future? Well, of course it can. It's just that the car manufacturers are trying to make their cars look more futuristic. So, you don't need a key. You can use your phone to start your car, right? Well, what happens when your phone breaks or somebody steals it or somebody steals the information going back and forth? Because if your phone could do it, somebody else's phone can. If they catch that information and put it on their phone, they can steal your car. Nothing's better than a key because they got to have a key to steal the car. And a key with an immobilizer in it, even better, because then even if they have a key and say they stole your key from a valet parking at some restaurant or something. They made a copy of the key, right? But they don't have the immobilizer, so it'll open the car, but it won't start it, right? But if you can do everything with your phone, no, not a smart idea. And if something goes wrong, you can't start your car, start paying the mechanics or locksmiths a fortune to come, because they know you can't get in your car. You want to use your car, you're going to pay us whatever we want to charge you for it. So I would rather have a $2 regular key or maybe a $35 immobilizer key than any of this digital horse manure that they're trying to sell to people. Here's real lack of engine quality in GM. It's an email from a guy who still works for him, so he won't let me use his name. But he says, Scotty, please don't use my name as I still work at GM. Tell your viewers that this year alone, we have replaced no less than 18 6.2-liter V8 engines due to a spun crank bearing between 700 kilometers and 15,000 kilometers, not to mention dozens of 5.3-liter engines with lifter problems. If your viewers don't know this, that in order to replace the engine, it's lifted completely out of the frame. Do you really want a $60,000 to $80,000 vehicle that has that done to it? And of course, that comes on top of the 8 and 10-speed transmission replacements we've done this year, approximately 15 total. And this is only from one small dealership. I can only imagine what the whole province or country is doing. And don't even get me started on the infotainment issues. You were right, buy Toyota. And this is a guy who works for GM. But I'm not mentioning his name, so you can't fire him because of what he said, right? He's telling me the truth. He works there, right? Yeah, it's unfortunate, but their quality's garbage. They've had engine problems, transmission problems for ages, GM. And like you said, these aren't cheap trucks. $60,000 to $80,000 pickup trucks. And you got an engine going out 700 kilometers, which is like, what, 400 miles? And then 15,000 kilometers would be like, I don't know, 8,000 miles or something. They fall apart that fast. They're not building these things right, baby. So, my advice, like he said, do you really want one back after it was fixed? Maybe they didn't fix it right. Take my advice. Take his advice. He even says buy Toyota, and he works at a GM dealer. What do you think people do crazy things on Black Friday? Well, this woman, Ashley, in Houston, Texas, tried to trade in a stolen vehicle for a $400,000 Lamborghini, and she ended up getting arrested. Maybe she had too much to drink on Thanksgiving. I don't know. Turns out that this woman, and I quote, presented a stolen vehicle that did not belong to her as a trade-in to finance a 2023 Lamborghini Urus worth $411,884.57. Why they had the 57 cents? No one knows. Why anybody would want to buy one? No one knows. And why would anybody attempt to trade in a stolen vehicle for it? That doesn't make any sense either. So people do strange things, I guess, on Black Friday. And this woman thought, oh, well, I'll see if I can trade in a stolen car, get a Lamborghini, then I can hoof it. They're fast cars, right? It's a good getaway car. But unfortunately, it didn't work for the woman. So this all happened in Houston, Texas, my old hometown. So yeah, things are still crazy there. People are still trying to pull scams. It's winter. Here's a warning. You don't want this to happen in your garage. That happened in Gardner, California. And a guy was charging his battery in his garage, and as you can see, it started on fire. I guess he's like me. He's got a camera in there, and it's filming it the whole time. And that's how he got the picture of it burning up, right? Hopefully he had a smoke alarm in there, too, to go off, tell him to put it up. This is a warning I give everybody. Do not buy the cheapest battery charger you can get if you're going to charge batteries, because they can start on fire. They're cheaply made. A lot of this cheap Chinese crap doesn't work right. You plug it in. You see in New York City, they have a bunch of lithium-ion battery fires for bicycles. People with electric bicycles, they bring them in their apartment, they plug them in, woof, then the place burns down. It's probably a combination of a cheap charger and a cheap Chinese-made bicycle that starts on fire when it's charging because it gets too hot. They don't have cooling systems on any bicycle I have ever seen. You take electric cars like Tesla. Hey, they got cooling fans. They got a whole radiator cooling system with fans on it that cools the battery and all the electronics so it doesn't start on fire. You plug a Tesla in your house. If it gets hot, the fan will turn on the car to cool itself. If it gets too hot, it'll turn the charging system off. It's got all kinds of safety devices, right? But if you have a cheap charger, it has no safety devices, and it can easily start on fire. It could overcharge your battery, then it could explode because the hydrogen gas is coming out, and then any little spark, boom. That's why I don't advise people to put any kind of heavy-duty chargers on in a closed garage. Open the door if you're doing it. You want any hydrogen gas or anything to escape out into the atmosphere. You don't want it in an enclosed area. So if you're going to charge something, leave the windows, leave the garage door open. Don't leave it closed, because that's kind of creating a mini bomb. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.